for the sort of everyday runner, cyclist, triathlete, whoever it is, the biggest issue with the translation of science is that science likes averages, and so a scientific study will typically test 20 participants, and it'll say look for an effect of a certain type of training on performance, and there'll be 20 in one group, 20 in another, and what you'll then do is you'll test them in pre and post, you'll train them, and you'll do all sorts of measurements, and you'll reduce it down to an average. Within those 20, there will probably be some people who respond enormously to what you're testing, other people who get worse.
Yes.
Because in the other 20, there's a person who would have done better in the previous group. And so science then takes an average, and like seriously, who's average?
Yes.
So that's one of the big issues. And where it gets confusing then is that, A, we can't deal with variability between different people. And as a coach, you'd know that's your biggest challenge, is what works here doesn't work there. In fact, it's disastrous. And then the other problem is someone else comes along and looks at that group of 20 and he picks up one guy and he says that's the answer. Well, no, because there are 19 guys who are different.
Yep.
And so again, you get the pendulum of truth, and it swings from one side to the next, depending on who you're looking at. And that does no one any favors. And it's hard, it's a difficult one, because science, it's unpopular for a scientist to say we don't know. But the more I study it, the more I'm realizing if someone says, will this work, the answer is maybe for you under certain circumstances at the right time in the right place. And that's, I mean, that's not, you can't sell books with that idea.
No,
and that's why you'll get a book saying run barefoot, it's how you were meant to be. Well, yeah, maybe 10% of you. The other 90% of you will be broken down in a month.
My argument with the barefoot running is in that tribe, in that tribe of individuals who use that method of catching meat, of running it to exhaustion and then killing it, I would have been a root digger. I was definitely not going to be one of the runners.
Fisherman.
I would have been,
the builder, you know, the guy who builds the houses or something.
Exactly. I wasn't designed to do that.
So polarized and generalized, and that's a big danger. 10,000 hours to become an expert. Malcolm Gladwell and Matthew Syed and these guys, same thing. It's like, the average, but some guys do it in 1,000 hours. Some guys spend 30,000 hours, they never get there. So again, it's the same problem of generalizing the truth, and depending on who you're looking at, the truth is variable, and that's, again, it does no one any favors.
So the coach can then, work not on statistics and averages, but work on the responses of individuals.
I think coaches should see themselves as scientists, because what is science? Science is just hypothesis, test, answer hypothesis. If it works, you keep doing it. If it doesn't work, you change it.
Exactly.
And that's how we learn, right? So as a coach, you're saying that a session of X is going to improve 10K performance. And you put your athletes through it. And sure enough, 8 of your 20 athletes get worse and the other 12 get better. That's an answer. Based on that answer, you must modify your hypothesis, and then you test again, and you test again. So coaching...
Or you stick with what I think a good coach would do is those 12 that got better, they stick with that methodology. You're still trying to find the answer for the other eight.
Yes. And all the time is that you're finding an answer, but you're also asking the next question. And it worked on some people. Why? And if it worked this way, then maybe it can work twice as well if we add another thing, and that's the next hypothesis. As opposed to it didn't work on these 8. Now we need to test out another method of training. So, and you'll know some guys respond to long, slow distance. Other guys can't go out and run an hour. They're exhausted for 4 days. So I think a good coach is a good scientist, whether he thinks of himself as that or not. And one of the problems, certainly in South Africa, is we don't understand sports science as value. And it's because we look at science as people who are there to provide answers, and it's actually just asking questions. That's good science. It's just question everything. Why is that athlete injured? Okay, it's because they chucked their shoes away after reading Born to Run. But that's the superficial answer. Now let's go into it and say, well, they're injured because maybe they're heavy, maybe it's their calf muscle length or strength, maybe it's something from their training history. They were a swimmer when they were younger, and whatever it is.
A lifetime of living in the north and having an inch heel under their work boots, or
so every single athlete is an experiment of one. And every single coaching session is an experiment as well
within itself.
And as long as you're systematic and logical, you're doing science. You just don't have 3 letters behind your name that make people think you are, and that's crazy for me.
Well, then we need to encourage people out there to say, sports scientists have a key role, coaches have a key role, and it's like the age-old juxtaposition of physiotherapists and chiropractors, and the juxtaposition created by religions and things like that is, if we look at the end result, which is performance, we should actually see every paradigm that we enter as opportunities to create performance. So what can I learn from an applied kinesiologist who seems to be so far out there, but you know, he might have one little piece of the puzzle, or she might have one piece of the puzzle,
and that's all you're doing, you know. That's, and again, at the Olympic level it's different from most people who will watch this, but at the Olympic level 0.5% is the difference between fourth and gold.
Yes, exactly.
It's anonymous versus legend. And if you can find that 0.5% in 5 different areas, each of which gives you 0.1, because you've seen a kinesiologist and a physiotherapist and a dietitian and a sports well, then why would you say no?
Exactly.
And so that's the mind shift that certainly I think exists. I think it's been made here by more people. In South Africa we haven't made it. But that's what needs to happen. But anywhere in the world, when you look at good sports science for performance, it's always driven by the coach, and what he recognizes is needed by the athlete. Like a really seemingly arbitrary example is, I was in Beijing recently, and the United Kingdom guy spoke, and you know, they had this amazing Olympic Games, and a lot of that was down to how well they delivered sports science to their teams. And the one example that was given there was that their boxing coaches recognized that out of a 365-day year, they were losing 40 days of injury because the guys had bruised knuckles. So a simple experiment was to put pressure sensors on all the knuckles, measure the boxer during a session, see where the pressure was greatest. Then they worked on new taping techniques that would protect the knuckles at highest pressure, and all of a sudden those 40 days dropped down to 20 days. And so they'd effectively, using science, bought themselves 20 days of training out of 365.
That's huge.
That's a 5% more training. And that's the difference. Again, like if you're talking 0.5%, is that not going to make that difference? So it's a simple thing. The coaches saw the problem, the scientists had a way to answer it, and they delivered. And that's exactly what people should look for. And it doesn't mean going to a university environment. It's just, you can do this yourself, you know.
Yes, exactly.
You can play with hydration strategies. Maybe you feel bloated when you run. Try drink less, for example. And your optimal weight for racing, for example. What you eat before. These are all experiments, and if you are self-aware, then you can become better just by thinking about it.